You know what's interesting about highly intelligent people? They often feel profoundly alone, even in crowded rooms. And not the kind of loneliness that comes from being disliked or rejected. It's something deeper. Schopenhauer, the German philosopher, once said that talent hits a target no one else can hit, but genius hits a target no one else can see. And that invisibility, that feeling of aiming at something others can't even perceive, creates a very specific kind of isolation. W.E.B. Du Bois, the black intellectual and sociologist, described something similar when he wrote about double consciousness, the experience of seeing yourself through your own eyes while simultaneously seeing how others see you and recognizing the gap between those two realities. For highly intelligent people, that gap becomes a constant source of loneliness. They see patterns, connections, and complexities that simply don't register for most people around them. Psychology research backs this up. Studies show that people with very high IQs often display subtle behavioral patterns that isolate them socially, not because they choose isolation, but because their brains process the world differently. Here are 10 surprisingly common habits that explain why highly intelligent people so often feel alone. The first is spending extensive time in solitude. Schopenhauer believed that solitude was necessary for genius because inferior minds found company comforting, while superior minds found it draining. Research from the London School of Economics confirms this. Highly intelligent individuals report feeling less satisfied with frequent social interaction compared to others. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thinking, simply needs quiet space to process. What looks like antisocial behavior is actually cognitive necessity. The second habit is asking questions nobody else is asking. Highly intelligent people don't just wonder about big philosophical problems. They question everything. Why do people behave this way in groups? Why does this social system persist despite its flaws? Du Bois spent his life asking questions that made people uncomfortable. Why does America claim equality while practicing segregation? Their brains naturally search for patterns others miss, and constantly questioning what everyone else accepts creates distance. The third habit is talking to themselves. Psychologists call this self-directed speech. Studies show it improves focus and strengthens working memory. But socially, it marks you as strange. When you see someone quietly working through thoughts aloud, you're watching an active, high-functioning cognitive system at work. But most people just see someone talking to themselves. The fourth habit is being comfortable saying, "I don't know." Schopenhauer wrote that, "The wise have always said the same things, and fools, who are the majority, have always done the opposite." People with very high intelligence understand the limits of their knowledge. This relates to the Dunning-Kruger effect, where less knowledgeable people overestimate what they know. Highly intelligent individuals do the opposite. They're acutely aware of how much complexity exists in any topic. But in a world where everyone speaks with confidence, admitting uncertainty makes you seem weak. The fifth habit is overthinking everything. An analytical brain rarely turns off. The same cognitive processes that solve complex problems also analyze every conversation, every decision, every social interaction in exhausting detail. Du Bois wrote about the burden of consciousness, of being awake in a sleeping world. Sometimes this looks like indecision or anxiety. But internally, it's a brain exploring multiple mental models simultaneously. The sixth habit is having a dark or complex sense of humor. Humor requires sophisticated cognitive processing. To understand or create it, the brain must recognize patterns, break expectations, and connect unrelated ideas. Studies in intelligence research journals show a measurable correlation between higher IQ and advanced humor. But when your jokes require 3 levels of reference to understand, most people just stare blankly. And that silence is lonely. Now consider this for a moment. How often do we interpret these behaviors incorrectly? Someone who spends time alone seems antisocial. Someone who asks uncomfortable questions seems difficult. Someone who admits uncertainty seems uninformed. But these are actually signs of a mind that works differently. The seventh habit is being more active at night. Many high IQ individuals report peak mental clarity late at night. Some evolutionary psychologists suggest that cognitive flexibility allows easier adaptation to non-traditional patterns. Schopenhauer famously worked through the night, but it also means being awake while everyone else sleeps, literally alone with your thoughts. The eighth habit is observing more than speaking. Instead of immediately responding in conversations, highly intelligent people watch first. They gather information, analyze emotional cues, identify power dynamics, then respond thoughtfully. Du Bois mastered this. As one of the first black scholars in white academic spaces, he had to read every room perfectly. This reflects strong pattern recognition in social behavior. But it also means you're always slightly outside the conversation, watching rather than fully participating. The ninth habit is changing their minds when presented with evidence. Highly intelligent people treat beliefs as flexible mental models, not fixed identities. When new information appears, they update the model. Schopenhauer wrote, "All truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident." But in a world where people tie beliefs to identity, changing your mind makes you seem unreliable, and refusing to join tribes makes you tribeless. The 10th habit is searching for meaning in everything. High intelligence often brings increased awareness of complexity in society, relationships, human behavior. Du Bois wrote, "One ever feels his two-ness, an American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings." This constant search for coherence in an incoherent world, for meaning in meaningless patterns, creates a particular exhaustion. It's not always dramatic or philosophical. Sometimes it's just a quiet question that won't leave you alone. Why do we accept things that make no sense? And perhaps that's the deepest source of loneliness for highly intelligent people. They can't stop seeing. They can't unsee the patterns, the contradictions, the complexity. While everyone else moves through the world with comfortable certainty, they're stuck watching, questioning, understanding too much. Schopenhauer believed genius was a curse as much as a gift. Du Bois described the veil that separates those who see clearly from those who don't. And psychology research confirms what both philosophers understood. Intelligence doesn't just make you different, it makes you alone. Not always, not with everyone, but often enough that the loneliness becomes part of who you are. The price of seeing what others can't is that nobody sees what you see. And that invisible target Schopenhauer described, you're still aiming at it, alone.